Hey everybody, this is Cressel Snapdragon back again with another Mixplay board tutorial. In the last tutorial, I showed you how to set up a simple basic Mixplay board with a couple of different scenes, putting the buttons down and creating the commands for them within the Mixplay bot. In this video, I'm going to show you how to do some advanced things with your Mixplay board to just make it really cool and creative. I'm basically going to take you step by step through creating an entirely new scene. You're going to see everything I do from start to finish, and hopefully this will help you be creative and set up your own Mixplay board with some really cool advanced things. So let's go ahead and let's get started. So over here, this is my default Mixplay board. And what I mean by default is when someone comes to my stream, this is the starting scene that they're going to see. But over here on the far right, I have buttons that if a viewer were to press them, it would take my viewers to an entirely new scene. So if they hit, for instance, my SFX button, it would take them to a board dedicated to sounds. If they were to hit the GIFs button, it would take them to a board dedicated to different GIFs. And my mods have their own board so that they can mod my song request queue, my game queue, and just my chat. But I want to create a special Mixplay board with a few things like links to my shop. I want it to have ways for the viewers to join my queues, and then I also want to have some special overlay effects on this board, so I called it special. And you're going to watch me create the Mixplay board for the special scene. Okay, so I already put the button down for special, and what I want it to do is when my viewer hits this button, it's going to take them to a new scene called special. And so here's my board for special, and so we're going to go ahead and we're going to set it up first and foremost by adding the controls. So I want to add my labels first, make a label, and what we're going to have is shops. And again, if you see the red exclamation mark, you just need to add the text here. And that's just the text that the button itself is going to show. I'm going to move this fairly far down here. I want to create another label and call it requests. So just to note, the name of the button or label isn't always going to be the same as the text that it displays. So this is the name of the label, and this is the text that the label is going to display. And you can make it display different text from the name of the label. And one more label, this one's going to be fun overlays. And we're going to put it down. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I need to make that a little smaller. Okay. So here are my labels. Now I'm going to add my buttons, which are the things that my viewers will press to make certain things happen on stream. So we're going to go to New Control, and my first button is going to be the interactive shop. I'm going to go ahead and put it down. And then I'm also going to do my merchandise shop here. Okay, and now I'm going to lay down the buttons for the request. So we're going to do song request. So for this one, I might require a spark cost for, but we'll do all that within Mix It Up itself. So I'm going to go ahead and put this button down. And then we're going to have enter game queue. And now I just want to set up some buttons for fun overlays. Let's say, for instance, you have a spin wheel from Streamlabs. I'm going to show you how to set that up. And you're probably going to want to make that cost a certain high amount of sparks. So we'll say 500,000. And then I also just want to make it so that my viewers can turn on overlays. We're going to do bubble. I'm going to make it cost 5,000 sparks. And then we're also going to do paint. And make that cost 5,000 sparks. As someone with OCD, I have to make them all be the same. So now that we've created our board for our special scene, let's go ahead and customize our buttons by adding a background to them and determining what text color we want each one to have. So I want my labels to have a particular text color, and to do that you just hit the arrow here, go to text color, and I want them to be, let's say, a green. You want it to be a bit of a, or how about cyan? You want it to be a lighter color so that it's not so dark against the mixer background. So you want it to be a fairly light color. So we're going to make it a light cyan for the labels. And then for the buttons, I want to get a background image and change their text color as well. I'm going to use an orange background for them. So we're going to go look for an orange background, images, and I'm going to go to, let's go to this one here. And what you want to do is you want to copy the image address. And then you want to hit the arrow again and paste the image address down here where it says background image. Now if it gives you the URL must start with HTTPS, here it didn't for some odd reason, so it's probably not going to work. I'm going to go find another image. Okay, so that one worked, and you also want to make sure that it has the .source file at the end, whether it's .png, you can also use GIFs, and .jpeg. And then I want the text size, or the text color, excuse me, to be black. So now I'm just going to go paste all this into my other buttons. And then I'm going to paste the text color so that it's all uniform. Okay, so now we've determined what our buttons are going to look like, and I'll show you the end product once we finish up in the Mix It Up bot. So the next thing that we're going to do is, now that we've had our scene created, we are going to first create a home button so that our viewers can get back to the default scene here. So we're going to create a home button. Before I forget. Okay. And save. It does not auto-save, so you have to make sure that you save every time. Alright, so now we're coming to the Mix It Up bot. And before we really get started on this, again, you have to make sure you go to Services, and you have to add the overlay as a browser source in your OBS. So we're going to come to Mixplay here, and right here, this is where you choose your board. So this is my name of my board is Cressel Snapdragon, and this is where you choose your scene. So right now it's showing all the buttons for my default scene. And if you haven't added a command, or basically what's going to happen when they press that button, so let me explain it real quick. So what these are doing is when your viewer presses a button, you have to create a command so that something happens. So the button triggers an event, basically. And so we use these commands to tell the Mix It Up bot exactly what event to trigger. If you haven't added an event yet, it's going to say add command, like here. And so we're going to go down to the special button here. This is on our default board right here. And what I want to make it do is that when my viewer hits that button, it's going to redirect them to the special board. So to do that, you go to add command, advanced command, action. We're going to go to Mixplay, and we're going to make it move user to scene. The scene name has to be exactly what you called the scene in the dev lab, which I called special. And now we're going to save it. So that one's done. We're good to go. So now we're going to go to our special scene, and we're going to start adding events for all these buttons. So again, what you're doing is you're making it so that whenever a viewer presses these buttons, it triggers an event. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to add the commands for the events. We're going to start with the home button here because we want to make it so that whenever your viewer hits the home button, it takes them back to the default scene. So to do that, we're going to go to home button, add command, advanced command. We're going to go to Mixplay, type move user to scene, and the scene is called default. So scene name is the exact name that you have in the development lab here, which is default. And we're going to save that. You do have to give it a spark cost. I usually just say 0. Okay, so that's going to make it so that whenever a user presses the home button, it takes them back to the default scene. Now we're just going to set up some of our more simple buttons like the interactive shop here. And from my other video, I showed you how to create an inventory. Here's my interactive shop. I have it so that basically my viewers accumulate currency called biddies, ironically, and then they can use those biddies to purchase certain items from my shop list here. And when you create a shop, you have to enable the !shop command, which whispers your viewer how to get started in seeing the item list and redeeming the item itself. So what I want this button to do is to basically type !shop in chat for the command author. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to go to our Mixplay board. We're going to go to interactive shop, basic chat command, and type in !shop. Save. So now we're going to test it, test the command, and we'll go to my chat. So now you can see it typed in !shop for me, and it whispered me how to get started in redeeming an item from my shop list. So next we're going to do the merch shop button. And what I want this to do is that when they press this button, I want it to spawn in chat a link to my Designed by Humans shop. So we're going to go to basic chat command, and we're actually going to give it a cooldown so it can't be spammed. We'll do 500 seconds. And it's going to say, here's a link to my Designed by Humans merchandise shop where you can find cool t-shirts, mugs, and stickers. And then there's the link, save. So what this is going to do is if we test the command here in chat, you can see it has spawned the link in my chat here. So the next button we're going to do is we're going to set up the song request. And what this is going to do is that I want it to whisper the command author, and by the command author I mean the person who pressed the button. I want it to whisper the command author how to get started requesting a song. So we're going to go to add command. This is going to be another basic chat command, but this time we're going to hit whisper. And it's going to say, to request a song, please type SR, song name, and author. So that is how you get started to request a song. And we're going to save that. And now we're going to hit test. And you can see here that it whispered me to request a song, please type !SR, song name, and author. All right. So the next button we're going to set up is the enter game queue. And you would use this if you play a game such as Fortnite, and let's say you have a lot of people who want to play with you, but you can only have a max of 4 people on a squad, which means you can only have 3 viewers playing with you at a time. You might consider creating a game queue. And I showed you in another video how to get that started. So you had to manually set up commands already in order for a user to join the game queue. So what we're going to do is we're going to make it so that when a user presses this button, it's going to be like running that command so that they automatically join the game queue. We're going to go to Add Command, Advanced Command, Action, Command, Plus, and we're going to type Run Command. It's going to be a chat command, but you can also choose pre-made, for instance. And then we're going to go down to Join Queue. So now, you also have to give it a spark cost, but I think I gave it a spark. I gave it a cost somewhere else, but let's just say 500. All right. So we made it so that it costs 500 sparks for them to join the game queue. And so here we're going to go to game queue. I'm going to enable it. It has to be enabled or this isn't going to work. And we're going to press test command. And now it says, Kressel, you are number 1 in the queue to play. And if we go to our game queue, you can see me in the list here. Now we can also disable it and run the command. And now it says the game queue is not currently enabled. And this is whispering me so that it's not spamming the chat, which is super nice. Okay, so now we've set up the game queue button. And the next few buttons are going to be a little more in depth to get started. So you're just going to have to follow with me. Now the bubble and the paint buttons, these are going to spawn an event that's a particular type of video file. So I created these videos, they're .avi, that put bubbles up on screen, and there's also paint droplets on screen. Now these are .avi for a reason, and this is very important to note, by the way. So if we go to Add Command for Bubble, Advanced Command, if you were to use a GIF or an MP4 file, you would go to Overlay Images and Videos, and let's say you had an MP4 file you wanted to use, you'd go to Video, and this will take an MP4 and a WebM file. But these videos here are .avi, and there's a reason why I made them .avi, and that is so that they could have a transparent background and look clean. So I could make this a GIF, but a video loses resolution as a GIF quite dramatically, and I want it to look clean and pretty, so I didn't want to export it as a GIF, and you can't export an MP4 with a transparent background. So I had to export it as a .avi, but you cannot put a .avi video in this overlay here. It won't work. See, if we go to Browse, and I was to go to my overlays here, all files, and let's give it a duration of 6 seconds here. And so that .avi file is not working. So you have to get a little bit creative. And here I'm going to show you how to set up keyboard inputs. And this is really, really cool because this is how you would set up interactivity for your gameplay. So basically what you're doing is you're going to set it up so that it's as if your viewers pressed a button on your keyboard. So let's say that you're playing, I don't know, Black Desert Online, and your hotkey for drinking a potion is 1. You can make it so that a viewer hits a button and it's like pressing 1 on your keyboard, and it'll make your character drink a potion. But instead of making it interact with a game, I'm going to make it display an overlay on OBS. So to get started, I have to go to Settings in OBS, Hotkeys, and I have to hotkey it. So here I've hotkeyed my Show Bubbles and Hide Bubbles with Shift plus F8 and Shift plus F9. And so that means if I press Shift plus F8, now you see the bubbles on screen. And if I press Shift plus F9, it turns them back off. So I'm going to make it so that whenever a viewer presses the bubble button, it's as if they're turning the overlay on and off. So we're going to go to Action, Import keyboard, Input Keyboard and Mouse, type is keyboard. The key is the F key, so it's F8. And the action is click, and you want to check Shift. And then I want it to wait about 6 seconds. And then I want to turn it back off. So we're going to go back to Input, type keyboard. The key to turn that overlay off is F9, click, and Shift. And so if we save that, this is what's going to happen. So it's literally as if a viewer is pressing Shift F8 and Shift F9 on my computer. So I do want to point out that this can get a little bit buggy, and sometimes it might not work. It's not a problem on the Mix It Up side, it is a problem on the OBS side. It's just OBS has gotten bugged and you can't turn an overlay off and on. And sometimes you just have to mess around to get it to debug for it to work properly. I tried to mess around with it to see what was actually causing the bugged out mode, because we did this for my roomie and his was bugging out a lot, and I tried to figure out exactly what was causing the bug. I couldn't figure that out, but I could figure out how to debug it, and honestly it was just messing around with it. But just be aware that this can get bugged. Okay, so now we're going to do the same thing with Paint here. So we're going to go to Settings, Hotkeys, and I'm going to make it so that Show Paint will come on with Shift F6 and it'll be hidden with Shift F7. So now if I hit Shift F6, the paint droplets come on, and if I hit Shift F7, they turn back off. So we're going to go to Add Command, Advanced Command, Keyboard Input and Mouse, F6, click, Shift is going to turn it on. We're going to have it wait 6 seconds, and then we're going to have it turn it back off. Type keyboard, F7, action click, Shift, and save. Alright, let's test this one. There it is, absolutely beautiful. Okay, in order for this to work, you have to make sure that you have the overlays defaulted to off, since hitting the button is going to turn it back on. Just keep that in mind. So now what I want to do is add sounds to the bubble and paint overlay. So I'm going to go to Edit Command, Action, Sound, and I'm going to move this up because I want it to do the sound while the overlay is running. So we're going to go to Browse. So this is a good point to just let you guys know that the order of these matter. So I want it to turn the overlay on and make the sound at the same time, and then I want it to wait 6 seconds to turn back off. So the order of those matter. If we go to Bubble here, I have a lot of files in here. We're going to make sure the volume is down at 50. So the reason why I'm telling you this is because if we were to put sound at the very end here, then it's going to play the sound once the overlay has already turned off. So we want to make sure that it plays the sound early on. Save. Okay. And now we're going to do the same thing with Paint. We're going to go to Sound, Add, we're going to move it up, Browse, and then I'm going to make this one play this song here. So if it turns off too quickly, we can set it to loop the overlay and then go in here and actually change how many seconds this is on. So that way it doesn't turn off before the song is over. that's what it's going to do. I'm going to go back in and add another 2 seconds maybe to wait, and let's try it one more time. Okay, we can actually make that wait probably 1 less second, and then that should work. So the last button we're going to make is the spin the wheel, and this wheel is something you can create as a widget in Streamlabs. And so I'm actually going to borrow my roommate's wheel here. This is what he made, and so basically what he has is that so when his viewer presses the spin the wheel button, it spins the wheel, and whatever it lands on, he's going to do, such as drink hot sauce or drink mustard. And this is just a good way to add more interactivity to your stream. But the first thing you want to do, because it is a Streamlabs widget, is you have to hook up your Mix It Up bot to Streamlabs by going to Services, Streamlabs, and logging in. So now I'm going to show you how to set up the spin the wheel. You're going to add the wheel as a browser source into your OBS, and again it has to be defaulted to off because we're going to use keyboard input again. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to hotkey this wheel so that it can be turned off and on manually. So settings, hotkey, Shift F4, and Shift F5. So that way we can turn it off and on manually by hitting those buttons. Now remember, you want to have it defaulted to off because the command is going to turn it on. So we're going to go to Add Command, Advanced Command, Action, Input, Keyboard, and Mouse. The F4 key turns it on, click with Shift. And now what we're going to do is we're actually going to go to Action, Streamlabs, because this is how you're going to get the wheel to actually spin. So the input keyboard is going to get the wheel to show up. Doing Action Streamlabs is going to get the wheel to spin. So we're going to spin the wheel, and then we're going to wait about 15 seconds. And then we're going to go back to Input, and we're going to have it turn off. Save. So now we're going to test it, but I'm going to tell you right now, it's not going to spin for me because I'm not logged into his Streamlabs. So when you're logged into Streamlabs through your Mix It Up bot, the wheel will actually spin, but it's not going to spin for me, so I'm going to ask him to spin the wheel. Alright, so now we've created all our buttons. The only thing left to do is actually test it. So make sure you hit refresh, connect. So you're going to go to your Mixplay board, and here's the Mixplay board. This is my default scene, and I'll have to fix this. I don't exactly know what happened here, but I'm going to go to Special, and you'll see that it changed the board here. And if you hit home, it brings you back to the default scene. And so now we're going to test the overlay buttons. We'll go to Paint. And then we can do song request. It should whisper the command author. We can also do enter game queue. And then interactive shop. And this, I see it has an issue, and I think what's happening is it's whispering my bot instead, but we don't want it to whisper the bot. We want it to whisper the command author. So I think we're going to have to change the button for that. We're going to go to here. We're going to have it whisper the command author. We're actually going to have it whisper automatically what it whispers here. So exclamation shop list for a list of the items to get started. So we're going to go here, interactive shop, and I want it to say type exclamation shop list to see a list of items in the shop. And we're going to have it whisper the command author. So now let's disconnect and refresh. It should connect here, reconnect, comes back up, special, interactive shop, and now it whispered the command author, type shop for a list of items. And then you can also do merch shop. So all of our buttons appear to work. We're good to go. That is it. I hope this really helped you. It's really advanced, so I hope I went slow enough for you, and thanks for watching.